Ladies and gentlemen, Oldhead versus Newcomers coming back at you guys. The NFL playoffs are here. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Well, welcome to 2024, guys.
Well, we've had an episode since 2024, but I guess way to welcome everybody back again. Wild card weekend is here, gentlemen. It started last night, and there are some great games today. Oldhead, will start with you. Which team do you think is the most likely to be on upset alert this weekend?
Well, it depends on who you talk to and as to how they view it as an upset. So, because I'm talking with you, then you would actually view this as an upset. But I'm gonna actually talk to you about three different games, and of those three, the first one I don't really view as an upset because I think Dallas is going to do their typical choking. What's interesting is they play Green Bay, a bunch of no-namers, with a guy, the last name Love. And, I think at the end of the day, they're going to come in, they're going to get the victory. I think McCarthy used to coach for them, so they're going to get that dub. I think the second one is Tampa Bay is going to knock out Philly, or it's highly likely. And then, I think the biggest one is going to be Mike Tomlin, who's absolutely 1 minute considered a guy that can't even make the playoffs. And the next minute he's playing Buffalo. And so the 7-Eleven society we live in today, where everybody's now suddenly back on the Buffalo bandwagon. Uh, Pittsburgh's going to come in there. Mike Tomlin's going to throw down. They got two of their major defensive players back in the last few days. Uh, Watt, I don't remember if he's JJ or TJ. He's out, but they got two other cats coming in, and it's done. So Buffalo's out.
JJ.
So okay, so yeah, Buffalo's done.
Um, I think this is a team, they're somehow the underdog. This team is gonna knock out the old head's favorite team and favorite city in the world.
Let
The
them
Los
know.
Angeles, the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, you look at the Rams, I looked at all of these teams that were underdogs. I think the Rams are really the only underdog that's just still extremely underrated. They've only got blown out once the entire season. They lost in overtime to the Ravens. You know, Towards the beginning of the season, week 5, week 6, I talked about the three-headed hydra that was emerging. Stafford, Cup, and Puka. I said this explosive offense. That three-headed hydra became a four-headed hydra. And Kyron Williams got added to it. And this dude is ridiculously good and underrated himself. He's the first Rams player to rush for 1,000 yards in a season since Todd Gurley 2018. And Puka's top 5 in first yards gained this season. You look at the Lions secondary, they are just absolutely, absolutely getting torched. You look at CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson over the last 2 games. They combined against the Lions secondary in 2 games, 560 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Lions secondary is in deep, deep doo doo. And you look at this Rams defense, they're not too good themselves this year. They've struggled to force turnovers. But you look at some of these guys, they played in practice with Jared Goff, Josh Johnson, Jordan Fuller. I think these guys might be able to come out and make plays. This defense did get a lot younger this season. They lost Wagner, they lost Ramsey, but you got some rookies that have been looking really, really good that I think might be able to step up. You look at Byron Young, you look at Kobe Turner. I think these dudes are actually pretty good. And, who am I going to have faith in the playoffs? The DRC, or am I going to look towards McVay? Am I going to look towards Aaron Donald and leading this D to make key stops? I have the Rams beating Detroit.
I'm going to address 2 points here. First of all, old head, I wish I had a button that I could press called brownie alert, because the fact that you think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to beat my Buffalo Bills, I'm pressing that brownie alert button. I've been on the Bills since they were 6-6. Everybody knows they're not losing first round. They're not losing second round. They're not losing in the third round. They're making it to the Super Bowl. Newcomer, I'll address your point. That's an excellent pick. The Los Angeles Rams will absolutely beat the Detroit Lions this week. We talked about it a few weeks ago on the show. I had a segment on this week's show about it, but I'll break down this offense for you. Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, one of the best quarterback head coach duos in the NFL. They won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. Cooper Kupp was banged up a lot last season. Matthew Stafford was banged up a lot last season. People forgot how good this three-headed Hydra was. You can go ahead and throw in Sean McVay and make it a five-headed Hydra, Newcomer. Sean McVay is that dude. He's underrated. I don't know how. Matthew Stafford's underrated. I don't know how. That's a crazy stat you pulled out there. I didn't even realize that CD and Justin Jefferson went that nuclear in 2 weeks. That's unheard of. The fact of the matter is that the Rams are 7-1 in their last eight. They have one of the most high-flying offenses in the NFL. And Newcomer, you said it best. They're underrated right now. Nobody's talking about them. Matthew Stafford's going to go back into Detroit. Detroit, they had this petty move where they said they're going to ban Stafford jerseys. Like, come on, that's just absolutely ridiculous. Like, what Matthew Stafford did for that franchise, he gave his blood, sweat, and tears. Matthew Stafford, the Rams, boys from LA, they're going to go up there. They're going to ice them up. The DRC's headed to Cabo week 1, baby. Let's head to the next question here. With the beginning of the playoffs marks the end of the regular season. There are a lot of major questions with these teams that fell short. The Chicago Bears finished their regular season strong, led by Justin Fields, and they currently hold the number 1 overall pick after a trade with Carolina last year. Newcomer, should Chicago keep Fields or look to select Caleb Williams with their number 1 overall pick?
Um, first of all, you have to look at the value of this pick. This is a very, very, very valuable trading block. You look at what they were able to do with the number, when they had the number 1 overall pick, when they traded it to the Panthers, they were able to receive 2 first-round picks, including the number 9 overall selection, some other picks, and they got DJ Moore. You look in the past, a couple years ago, Miami had the number 3 overall pick. They traded that. They received 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and a couple other assets. You look at how much this team improved, how good Justin Fields in this offense looked to end the year after starting 0-4. I just don't think it's possible that you can use this number 1 pick on a quarterback. I don't think you can use it on Caleb Williams. It's not going to improve the team enough. Simply put, if I'm Ryan Poles, you look at all the quarterbacks available in the draft. Are, are any of them in the start of the 2024 season going to be able to perform better in the 2024 season than Justin Fields? No. I think it's a simple no. I think you have to ride it out with Justin Fields. You look at this offense, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, they need some rushing help. They need some running back help. But I think, if you're the Bears, you trade back a little bit. If you're able to get Marvin Harrison and get some value out of it, I think
Maserati.
you have to do that. If you want to trade farther back to like the 9th or 10th pick, you could look at potentially getting Roma Dunze with that pick and getting some receiver help and getting a lot of value out of it. And there's still some really good quarterbacks you could draft in later rounds to be a good backup for Justin Fields in case it doesn't work out. At the end of the day, no, I cannot draft Caleb Williams. I'm sticking with Justin Fields if I'm the Bears.
This is going to be a quick answer. So before I answer it, I got a question for the newbie. I actually need help on this one. I don't have an engineering degree. I don't have any sort of mechanical skills, but what the heck is a 3-headed Hydra, 4-headed Hydra, or a 5-headed Hydra? Like, I don't know what a Hydra is. That reminds me of something out of like an alien movie. Like, what is it?
It's a huge, it just is like, imagine a huge thing with a bunch of heads coming out of it, like a huge statue. So just imagine a huge statue. At the start of the season, it started with Stafford.
I thought it was like a snake with multiple heads.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, whatever it is,
No.
just
So
imagine
here's
it
the
double
thing.
the
Here's
size
the
now
thing.
and add Kyron Williams to it.
No. Hey, listen. When I got a guy talking about a 3-headed and a 4-headed Hydra, and then he follows up 2 minutes later talking about deep doo doo, I'm like, I need to ask this guy what the heck a 3-headed Hydra is. And then I get the host bringing up a 5-headed Hydra. And I'm sitting over here going, I must have fell asleep in that class where they never taught it because I have no clue what a Hydra is. So thank you for that clarification. Basically, you have no clue. Next, I think to the host comment, on the DRC going to Cabo. I mean, I will say this: if they happen to lose, which will not happen, but if they do,
It'll be
I can
Cancun.
promise you one thing. I can promise you one thing. Dan Campbell isn't going to go doing a sneaky deaky meeting, doing a sellout low ball meeting to bring in some other team's quarterback because he has the courage to handle it in person. Detroit wins this game, they cap him and they send him home. So back to the question at hand. Justin Fields, he's developing. I agree with Newbie. I think he made some very valid points. Again, I don't have all the statistical background. I don't have all this like fancy, hydra verbiage. What I do know is that Caleb Williams would not be that good of an upgrade over and above Fields. Fields, 2 years ago, was the man. I think they've got their guy. They can develop him, and they should get some backup. If it wasn't for the Hydra and the doo-doo comments, I probably just would have said ditto on what he said and moved on. But I can't let that pass him up. So maybe the next time next week, Hydra Boy, you can tell me what it is. Thank you.
Brownie alert, brownie alert, brownie alert. Caleb Williams should be the number one overall draft pick. He should be headed to Chicago in a private jet, pull out the red carpet, throw rose petals down. Caleb Williams will save the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields has proved he can't do it over the past few seasons. I think he has 3 games this year, over 250 passing yards. They upgraded the receiving core, getting DJ Moore. This offense did not look great all season long. The fact of the matter is that Caleb Williams is a generational talent. A lot of people say, he's the next Patrick Mahomes. He's more mobile than him. The arm angles that he can throw at, there's been a lot of question marks about his leadership, with all the comments he's made about wanting the equity with the teams. But I think you got to put that to the side because of what this dude's ceiling could be. He has the potential to be one of the best quarterbacks of all time, just looking at how good he is. He's a freak athlete. He has a good work ethic. I think Caleb Williams should be the number one overall pick to Chicago. They can trade Justin Fields. They said his value is around a second round pick. Use that second round pick on a wide receiver. Like you said, Newcomer, it's a very deep wide receiver draft. They can still upgrade at the running back position later in the draft. They can upgrade at the wide receiver position earlier in the draft. Justin Fields, even if he had a better season this year than he did last year, or even if you think he's getting better, it just seems like his time in Chicago is running out and he needs a scenery change. You could say it's his fault. You can say it's not his fault. The coaching hasn't been great. The play calling hasn't been great. The offensive line hasn't been great. But the fact of the matter is that he needs new scenery and he can't be in Chicago. Let's head to the next question here. The Cowboys play the Packers later today. And being the Dallas Cowboys, they have very high expectations. After failing to reach the conference championship the last 2 years, Oldhead, do you believe Mike McCarthy is coaching for his job today?
Yeah, I do think he is. I don't think that the challenge of coaching in Dallas, I mean, all you have to do is look at McCarthy on the sidelines from day one. I used to think maybe it was his diet and he overate this and that, but I mean, the guy looks like he's 100% constipated the whole time, every game, meaning he looks like he's in pain. And the reason why that is because when you coach the Cowboys, you're under constant pressure to become this winner. You choke games and it builds on itself, and then your owner sells you out. So I think he is on the chopping block. I don't, that was probably like that way beginning at the start of the year. If they lose to Green Bay, where I believe he came from, I can't remember.
He
I
did.
thought he maybe coached there. Okay,
He
so
did with Rodgers
I just
when they
feel
won a
like,
Super
He
Bowl.
won a Super Bowl there.
Yeah, when they won a Super Bowl.
yeah, but I mean, you know what? I think that it's kind of like a couple of these other guys. The dude down in Jacksonville that won a Super Bowl.
They
Like,
were they were lucky, huh? Like Mahomes last year.
I don't think they were lucky. I mean, just sometimes things fall in play for you. But I mean, I know nothing about McCarthy. I actually think he's probably a really good dude. I just think he probably would be better off maximizing his skill set with a team that's more in alignment with his energy. Like, he just watched the game, and when you really pay attention, you guys try to tell me next week how much pain. Like, did he have a bad meal the night before? He really, his face just looks like he's constantly in pain. So I think he's done. He knows he's done. They're not going to win. And so, yeah, I mean, here we go, coaching carousel part two.
I mean, you look at this and it's just like a pretty strange situation. You know, on the one hand, with his regular season success, being, how long he's been in the league, if this was in any other situation, he would not be on the chopping block because he's been great in the regular season, but he is just really him and the Cowboys the last few years have really just been playing into this Cowboys curse. And I think right now Jerry Jones is a lot more pissed is really really pissed off and he just wants to end this curse before he dies. And you look at this and you look at Mike McCarthy. I mean, they have lost to the Niners 2 seasons in a row. And you look at that the first year, that slide situation, just kind of a dumb situation. Then you look at the last play, even though it would have been a Hail Mary situation where I think it was some dude named Turpin or Turbin that just got absolutely pancaked on the last Turpin. Turpin got absolutely pancaked on the last play. And I think, if I don't think they're going to lose to the Packers, but even if they win a couple of games and they end up facing the Niners and they get humiliated by them, if they get beat by the Niners by 20 points in the NFC Championship game, I don't know how Jerry Jones goes onto a talk show after and says, "Oh well, yeah, I have complete faith in Mike McCarthy." That would be a lie. I don't think, with the amount of high profile coaching prospects that are out there, I think the Cowboys have to do really good. I think for him to keep his job, they either have to make the NFC Championship and play well or make the Super Bowl for him to keep his job realistically.
Which they won't make the Super Bowl, and their path to making the NFC Championship is quite easy, I think, at this point. I mean, most likely they'll be playing, well, they will be playing Green Bay round one, and then round two, assuming that the Eagles win, with which they're favored, they'll play them. But if they don't, and the Buccaneers win, and say Detroit wins, then they'll play Detroit round two, and they'll definitely be favored in either one of those games in the divisional round. I do think he is coaching for his job in the wild card and divisional round, but I don't think he necessarily should be. I think Mike McCarthy has done a really good job of turning around Dak Prescott's career offensively. You see the turnover numbers are down significantly this year. If I'm not mistaken, a head coach by the name of Jason Garrett, it seemed like he could really never get over the hump, never could make it to the conference championship. Mike McCarthy, he's been a lot more consistent, and he's done a lot better of a job. Newcomer, I agree with you. I think when you look at the coaching talent out there, whether it's a Bill Belichick, or a Mike Vrabel, or a Dan Quinn, even, in the same room, Dan Quinn, he could definitely make that jump to the head coaching position, whether it's with the Seahawks or potentially the Cowboys if McCarthy gets fired. But I don't think he will get fired because I don't think it's a good decision. I think he's done a good job of turning around this offense. I think it's more of a roster move to help them get to that next level. And unfortunately, I do think we're going to see the third year in a row where they're going to get bounced by the 49ers. People say third time's a charm. The charm ain't charming. I got the 49ers making it to the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens in Dallas. I know a lot of people in the media are going to be talking about that. Let's head to the NBA here, gentlemen. After serving a double-digit suspension, Draymond Green is back with the Warriors, and they need him desperately. They're on the outside looking in, not only to make the playoffs, but just to make the play in. Newcomer, can the addition of Draymond Green return the Warriors to contenders?
Um, No, they're gonna have to make some moves. They are gonna absolutely have to change some things around. And I was watching that Draymond interview that he was doing the soap opera to try to get people to like him again or whatever. I mean, this dude is such a liar. He said in this interview, "Oh, I was sitting in my man cave for 3 days straight. I didn't once leave, and my 3-year-old daughter FaceTimed me from her room, and she came into the man cave and grabbed me out of it." Since when? Okay, what type of 3-year-old is using FaceTime? Like it's just so ridiculous. Draymond Green's a liar, and I think if you're the Warriors, I know the Warriors front offices are really big fans. If you're able to keep Pojemski, Trace Jackson Davis, Jonathan Kuminga, these young pieces can end up being valuable for them. I think if you're the Warriors, you have to be looking at trading either Clay or Wiggins. I'm not sure about Draymond, potentially Draymond, and look at who's able to take on these big contracts and what you can get for them. Steph is really the only one of this remaining cast that really still looks like his old self. I think the Warriors need to really change some things around. Obviously, this offense has to be built around Steph, but I think, they still have some good young pieces. I think you really, really have to look hard at trading Clay or Wiggins if you're the front office. And no, they're not contenders right now unless they make a big move.
I think the old GM leaving just it shows. You see him on TV now, but it shows just how great a GM is when a team, a guy like that leaves and a team starts fading a bit. I mean, Klay Thompson's washed. Uh, your comments about Draymond, I mean, those were firm. I'm glad you didn't go all the way to the Trump, nuke him to the ground and blow him up, but that was some firm stuff there. I think Draymond isn't quite washed. Uh, all that being said, I don't know all the ins and outs the way you do, newbie. That was again very impressive. What I do know is that they've got 1 year, maybe 2 years to go deep into the playoffs. And it's a completely different version of the Miami Heat. So I don't want to compare, like, I think they're replicas because I'm a huge Heat guy. But I think Golden State, as long as they've got a an outside shot to get into the playoffs, which I believe they will, I think they're going to start a mad push here at the end of January into February. I think they're going to end up in that top 5 in the conference. Once they're in, it's game on, and I do believe that they won't go much further than maybe 2 rounds. They might make it to the conference finals, but Steph Curry is a once in a generation guy. I never considered they had stay in that stuff, but I don't think you can count that dude out. And so I don't think they can contend for the title, but I think they'll go pretty deep in the playoffs, and I feel really good about it. I do think they should get rid of Draymond at some point, but that's way above my pay grade. So I'll have them call you, newbie. You can figure all that out for them. Maybe you should go be the GM of them.
Like Charles Barkley said, the Warriors are cooked. The Warriors are cooked. Stephen Curry is absolutely a generational player. Unfortunately, Draymond Green can't patch what's wrong with this team. Klay Thompson is playing horribly right now. Andrew Wiggins is playing horribly right now. Jonathan Kuminga's upset with his minutes as he's not playing down the stretch. Pajemski's playing great. He has a starting role now. Trace Jackson Davis off the bench has been playing good. But the loss of Jordan Poole is really affecting this team. They have no spark. They have no energy. It's like, Steph Curry, can you drop 40 points for us? Because if not, Klay Thompson's going to shoot poorly. Wiggins, he shows no effort, and it's really disappointing to see what's happening with the Warriors. Um, you know, I just with the amount of talent in the West and where they are right now, they're 3 games under 500. They haven't shown me anything that they could just make this massive jump to now all of a sudden become a top 5 team in the West. I don't know how they're going to do it. I think Draymond Green will be a big factor, and I do think they're going to be a play-in team with Draymond. I'm not expecting them to completely miss out. Klay Thompson just is a shell of himself, and this team they're in some desperate need of potentially a trade deadline move, getting a guy like Pascal Siakam, something like that. They gotta switch things up here, gentlemen. Thank you guys for another great episode. Looking forward to the wild card weekend here. We got the divisional round next weekend. We'll be breaking it down for you guys. See you, gentlemen.